Hi, everyone. This is Roberta McCulloch-Dews, host of Backstory Let's Hear It. We recently marked our 20th episode, and in celebration of this milestone, which has shared the stories of more than 30 Pittsfielders, here's a previously unaired recording of Backstory with Mayor Linda Tyer, the very first episode that launched this conversation series in August 2021. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, everyone. You're listening to Backstory. Let's hear it on WTBR-FM Pittsville with Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the Mayor's Office in the city of Pittsville. Today, we have with us a special guest, Mayor Linda Tyer. Mayor Tyer, thank you.
Hi. It's great to be here on your first ever podcast, Backstory. Let's hear it.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you so much. We had to pull a few strings to get you here, but we're so glad you're with us today. So I just want to start the conversation by acknowledging some brief bio history for you. Mayor, you've been involved in local politics since 2004. You've held various elected positions, including Ward 3 City Councilor and City Clerk. But here's what's really cool. You also have the distinction of being Pittsville's first 4-year term mayor. So that's one for Pittsville's record books. How does that feel?
Well, it feels like a privilege and an honor to be able to serve the people of Pittsfield for as long as I have. And, you know, I have a great deal of respect for every oval that was ever filled in for me at the ballot box. And so I consider it a privilege, and I respect the responsibility greatly. And so, you know, I try to use that as my guiding principles, especially when things get hard.
Yes.
And remembering that people trusted you when they filled in the oval on that ballot.
That's right.
To do this work.
That's right. You mentioned a few things: privilege, responsibility, and we're in such a crazy and weird time right now. I feel like politics is not for the faint of heart. And, you know, one of the things that you've publicly spoken about, the reasons why you entered politics, and I believe gender representation was among the factors. Is that correct?
Certainly, that was really how I got involved. Was there was a group of really smart, powerful, ambitious women who formed a political action committee back in 2003, and it was motivated by a similar set of circumstances. But it was local politics had become complicated and difficult, and there was a lot of warring factions, and there was paralysis in government, the city council and a mayor that, you know, were not working together collaboratively, and it really led to a movement within the community that has had some legs. I mean, we've had women on the city council since then. We've had members of minority groups represented on the city council. So, you know, we went through a period of time when I was on the city council where there was a lot of collaboration between the mayor and the council. There was a vision, a shared vision. And, you know, when I became mayor, I really wanted to carry that spirit of collaboration with me into the office, and not just with other elected officials, but with the community and community groups. So many people who live here, work here, commit to this community. So, and, you know, what we're seeing nationally is certainly starting to impact what we are experiencing here locally.
I just want to piggyback on that spirit of collaboration. I think we could all use more of it. Is it something that haven't been a part of that? How do you think we get back to that place?
I think everyone has to make a promise to be someone who is willing to collaborate. And that doesn't mean that you don't have difficult conversations or that you don't struggle to solve problems. I think what it means, though, is that collaboration is a two-way street. It can't just be one person on one side of the table. And, you know, too often we see where there is more interest in making political statements or grandstanding or aligning too harshly with one side or the other in a way that doesn't serve the American people or the people of Pittsfield.
Absolutely. I mean, when we think about it, like just, you talked about just having more women run for office. And especially in these times, I mean, I think it's like 7 times women have to be convinced to like run for office. And especially now with everything going so crazy, it probably is double. But why do you think that in general, women need that extra nudging to say, go for it?
I think it's important to acknowledge that men and women lead differently. Mm-hmm. Men and women experience professional decisions differently. And, women will spend a lot more time thinking about whether or not they're prepared. Do I have the right experience? Do I have the right credentials? Is my family prepared for me to take a leap of faith and enter into the arena? Am I at a place financially that I can afford to do this? Right. Whereas, I'm a little envious of the male mindset, which is, I can do this, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to succeed. Right. It's a very different, mindset. And I think that it carries over into the work, right?
Right.
I find women to be a bit more deliberative, a bit more cautious, a bit more thoughtful. Right. And I think that, it's just a fact of our gender differences, and to be honored and respected that because both mindsets serve the community. Both mindsets serve.
So where do you get your confidence from? Where do you get your confidence? What allowed you to take the leap, and what keeps you here?
Wow, I don't, it's such an interesting question because I don't ever think about confidence. But what I find, what works for me is surrounding myself with really smart, talented people who are willing to take some risks. And what I love about the work I'm in now is giving people the freedom to take a chance, try something new. If you make a mistake, we'll fix it. If it's a success, we'll celebrate. I like being able to provide people within, like for right now, within, the city, within City Hall, the opportunities to take some chances. I can tell you, Roberta, that when I was in my early career, I had several bosses who trusted me, who gave me an opportunity to try something and said, okay, go ahead, try it. Let's see how it works. And I remember feeling supported and encouraged and brave because I knew that my boss or my mentor was supporting something that I wanted to accomplish in my professional life.
Right.
And it meant a lot to me, and it has stayed with me, and it's part of what guides me now.
Excuse me. Obviously, and you know what? When we think about those things that stay with us, obviously, it has stayed with you into your leadership model. In addition to those individuals who have served as sort of like that blueprint, who do you regard as like a leader that you admire, that you say, okay, that is someone who I want to, maybe mirror my own leadership style off of?
Well, there's so many people who, might be in positions of power, but also people who are just leading in their church life or in their family life. Yeah. So I am always, first of all, I admired President Obama in his no drama Obama mentality, really tried to embrace that. I admire, people who are willing to extend themselves out into the community. I admire athletes who, here's how I describe it. I admire anyone who strives for excellence and succeeds. And I absolutely enjoy seeing people in their field really excelling. So athletes who we see succeed on the field or in the Olympics, but I know they have spent hours and hours and hours in training. Yes. I admire someone who is hard at work, filling out a grant application, and then hits the send button, and then a couple weeks later finds out that they've been awarded the grant.
Right.
It's those small moments and those big moments where I see people striving and succeeding.
Well, speaking of those small moments, that makes me think of something that we have at City Hall and in some of our offices, your 6 guiding principles. And I know that one of the chief principles is how can we? Tell me a little bit about that how can we mental model or mantra that you follow.
Yeah, so I really feel like there is no problem that can't be solved either with a small thing that we can do right now to make a difference or something that might require more long-term planning. And I don't ever want us to approach these dilemmas with the mindset that we can't solve it. We've tried this before. It doesn't work. It's entrenched. I think simply stopping and asking, how can we do this thing?
That's right.
Changes and shifts your mindset. It's sort of that idea of the finite fixed mindset versus the infinite mindset, which is anything is possible.
That's right. Well, you're halfway through your second term, and I can hardly believe it. I feel like I can't believe we're here.
You've been with me from the beginning, right?
From the beginning, from 2016. And I feel like I can't believe we're here. I feel like time has sometimes moved like molasses, but also at lightning speed. And you've seen a lot, you've done a lot. What are some of the signature projects or initiatives that you're most proud of?
Every single thing that I do, from signing the contracts to buy the chemicals for the wastewater treatment plant, to walking through the Morningstar apartments on Tyler Street, to, I know this is a controversial topic, but I like the bike lanes on North Street. I like the master plan, the long-range plan. I like the way that we have really put economic development front and center in our strategies and brought together the partnership of PETA and PERC and created, the business development manager and the red carpet team. That was something that I felt, whether you're a business that's here now that wants to grow or you're someone new, they ought to be able to walk in the door and talk to one person and have the red carpet rolled out for them. So that's something I'm extremely proud of. Roberta, when we took office, we were confronted by a fiscal crisis.
That's right.
That really took up a lot of our work in the first 2 years.
That's right.
And, some of the things we had hoped to accomplish were, not, we were held back. And, in the first year of our second term, we were confronted by a global pandemic.
That's right.
We have literally experienced it all in our time in office.
So is all that going into the memoir after? Down the road, years from now, will we read about the experience at City Hall?
Yeah, we have some funny stories. We have some funny stories, don't we, Catherine? And we have some great accomplishments, and we have some hardships.
That's right.
There were some difficult times in our office, and there were also triumphs.
Right.
And it makes up this portfolio of amazing work that we do together with and for the people we represent.
Wow. I mean, you've just given so many nuggets, and, just even thinking about just that, the strength that you build up with the good and the bad, it's needed for public service in today's times. You need to have that grit. You need to have that determination. It builds that capacity. So, Mayor, I just want to say thank you right now. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Backstory with Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the Mayor's Office in the city of Pittsfield, and we'll be right back.
Oh, yes! Oh, yes! 89.7 WTBR-FM Pittsfield.
Ready for K is a texting program offered free for families in Berkshire County with children ages 0 to 9. Each week, you receive 3 texts with fun facts and tips to help your child learn and grow. It works. Research shows that the simple strategies built on daily routines like getting dressed or preparing a meal lead to 2 to 3 months of child learning gains. Sign up for Ready for K at BerkshireUnitedWay.org and make everyday moments teachable moments.
Hey, this is Dave Cachet, the archivist of the WTBR-FM Vinyl Library. Tune in Saturday mornings at 9 for Random Draw, a trip through the vinyl archives of WTBR. I'll take you back in time to when these records were brand new. Each week, I'm going to pick a random spot in the vast record library of WTBR and pull out a bunch of great vinyl to play for you. That's right, an hour's worth of random songs with that rich vinyl sound, just the way you remember them. That's Random Draw every Saturday morning at 9, only on WTBR.
Hi, this is Officer Darren Derby with the Pittsfield Police Department. Better weather is around the corner. Expect an increase in the number of pedestrians on walkways, cyclists sharing our roads, and kids playing outside. It is imperative we all pay better attention while driving, walking, running, and cycling. So we need to do our part in keeping everyone safe by adhering to the rules of the road. Wear bright clothing if you are walking or running. If you are driving, please slow down and don't drive while distracted. Pay attention. Let's keep each other safe. This message is brought to you by the Pittsfield Police Department in cooperation with WTBR-FM.
WTBR. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Hi, everyone. You're listening to Backstory with Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the Mayor's Office in the city of Pittsfield. Thanks again for tuning in. Today, we have with us Mayor Tyer of the great city of Pittsfield. So, Mayor, we started the first half of our conversation just talking about your political background, talking about some of the initiatives that you're proud of, talking about the grit and determination and leadership qualities that you have brought to this role. So we're going to talk a little bit, maybe go in reverse now and talk about just your time growing up. You've lived in a couple of different places. Tell us what that was like.
Right. So I think I've shared with people over the years that my dad was in the Air Force, and so I was born in some place in Michigan that I have no connection to, and every time I need a birth certificate, I have to call the Department of Defense.
That's interesting.
So, and I've lived in a lot of places. I mean, my dad and my mom and I have just started to we decided to put together a list of places we lived and places that we've traveled, because I've had this incredible, fortunate experience growing up to live in a lot of places and travel around the world. So, New York, Canada, Greece,
wow,
Missouri,
wow,
Nebraska, Alabama. Yeah.
Which one is your favorite?
Well, I mean, so really, each place I only was there for 2.5 years.
Okay.
But certainly living in Athens, when I was in middle school, was, middle school is an awkward time for everyone. But living in Europe during your middle school years and going to an American international school where you have your friends speak, different languages and come from different backgrounds. And that was at the time, of course, an awkward time, being 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
But it was also where I fell in love with reading and where I learned to play the guitar and, spent some time sailing on the Aegean Sea and climbing the Acropolis and, traveling in Europe. My parents were great about exposing us to lots of different cultures. There was a 3-week driving tour of Europe where we piled into my dad's bright orange Volkswagen camper van, listened to Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young on the 8-track, and drove all over Europe. And
wow,
it was just an amazing memory. And
wow.
Yeah.
So going to an American international school, right? Like right now, like diversity is a buzzword. Everyone is thinking about it. Diversity, equity, inclusion, all of that. But you are immersed in diversity at a time when maybe people weren't thinking about it, but you lived it. You were around people from all over the globe, I can assume, right?
Yeah. I think that is a huge part of what has framed my belief systems and my willingness and interest in people who come from all walks of life. And being able to, we were talking earlier about, politics and being successful in it. And part of it is you have to be able to walk among lots of different people and engage with people from all different, experiences. And I think my coming of age, being part of a military family and living in a lot of places certainly helped prepare me for those unique and varied experiences.
Right. I mean, one of the things that we know at City Hall, we have great representation from folks from all different backgrounds. And I think probably that's a testament to your leadership and what you've brought as your vision for how city government should look. It should represent the people in Pittsfield. So thank you, Mayor, for that. Pittsfield, I know that Pittsfield holds a special place in your heart. You've often talked about your grandparents and your family generations going back. Tell us a little bit about the Pittsfield connection.
So it's really important to, point out that, yes, I grew up in an American military family and lived all over the United States and in Europe. And so what that means is I don't have a hometown, except for the place where all the rest of my family lived, where we would come for Christmas and vacations, and Pittsfield was the place. My grandmother, who just passed away this year at the age of 97. She grew up with her 10 brothers and sisters on Tyler Street.
Wow.
And so we have a large family on my mom's side, lots of aunts and uncles and cousins and beautiful memories. And this was where we always came. And I was very close to my grandmother. And so after college, I worked in Boston for a few years, but I kept coming here because I had family here and some friends here. And eventually in the late 1980s, I moved here and settled down. And this became my hometown, even though I didn't grow up here.
There's something about spaghetti sauce. Tell us a little bit about the connection to spaghetti sauce and your grandmother.
My grandmother only went to school through 7th grade.
Okay.
And so, she had not a lot of academic accomplishments, but she was very, very, very creative.
Yeah.
She was an amazing cook, did a lot of, she was extremely talented seamstress, and also just a loving, family, a person who kept our family tightly connected. And she married my grandfather, Caesar.
Yeah.
Nice Irish name. And my grandfather's mother was a chef for a wealthy family and passed down the spaghetti sauce recipe from Italy to my grandmother, who shared it with our family. And now it is a tradition in our family to make this sauce.
So it's a treasured secret, or is it a secret, or?
No, I like sharing it.
Okay.
I don't mind sharing it. She also made this incredible salad dressing, which we'll do sometimes too.
Okay, now I'm getting hungry. I don't know about you. I'm getting hungry, but I think those memories and having those things that we can actually keep, like the legacy of our loved ones, it keeps them going and it makes them real, right? So I think that's awesome. And yeah, we are looking forward to some of that spaghetti sauce at Christmas time.
Okay.
So, but now thinking about just some of the things, I mean, thank you, Mayor, for sharing that. It's personal, it's sweet. And it's one of the things that we, the stories that we often don't get to hear because, we're in such a fast-paced environment. And sometimes we don't slow down to think about sweet things like spaghetti sauce and those treasured memories. But, I think people have their own ideas of what they think a mayor does in a day. They have a lot of ideas. And in your own words, what would you want your constituents to know about your work, the work that you do every day?
I think there is a basic underlying principle about the work that I do every day, not by myself, but with a lot of people who are committed. But the basic underlying principle is, how can I do my best work for the most people?
Yeah.
And that's the underlying principle behind the work that I do.
Okay.
And so you and Catherine know what our calendar looks like.
That's right.
A day in the life of our office can be like you're on your roller skates.
That's right.
Or you're able to sit for a few minutes and actually spend some time studying something that's important. So, and then things pop up unexpectedly. People walk in the door, want to say hi. And so it's never a dull moment.
That's right.
And it's also intellectually challenging. It's emotionally, it's deep emotional experiences, whether we're dealing with something sad and difficult and hard or celebrating a great success. It is really an experience that I will never forget.
I hear you. Same here. And I know Catherine feels the same way too. What's something that people sometimes misconstrue about you that you'd like to maybe just clarify?
Well, it's interesting. I think people often perceive me, this is what I think, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I think I'm often perceived as an underdog. I think people underestimate me a lot, and I don't mind being in that position because it allows me to, roll up my sleeves and do the work that's needed to deliver for the people of Pittsfield. There's this constant push and pull around, I view myself as a workhorse. And sometimes I think people want me to be a show horse, to go out and be a big personality in the community, whereas my temperament is much more introverted, and I'm much more comfortable doing the work than, showcasing it. And so I think that, people perceive me maybe as, just maybe they perceive me as being an underdog, and they underestimate me a lot.
And you have a statement, right, or a vision that you go by. Is it work the plan, or what is it again?
Plan the work, and work the plan.
That's right. And so that's sort of like your mantra. That you're like, okay, I'm just going to follow that, and you do that, and everything else will fall into line.
Right.
All right. Lastly, now that, we've wrapped up this great conversation, and I think people have had the opportunity to, one, know your political background, know what makes you keep going, know a little bit about your history. If you had to think about one word that best describes you, what would that word be?
Curious. I'm a really curious person.
Okay.
I love to explore the world. I love to meet people. I love to learn something new. You guys know that I'm doing my paint by numbers project right now. I'm a huge wannabe artist.
Go for it.
I love to cook.
Yes.
I love to garden.
Yes.
I love to read. I love to practice yoga. I'm just a curious person. When my husband and I are thinking about where do we want to travel to next, he has very specific interests.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll go anywhere. And even when it comes to choosing where to go out for dinner, he's got very specific tastes. And I'm like, I'll eat anything. So I think that's the one word I would use to describe myself, is curious.
Well, Mayor Tyer, thank you. Thank you for the last words, and you've got it. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in to Backstory. Let's hear it. This is, again, Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the Mayor's Office in the city of Pittsfield, and we thank you all, and have a great day.